Hello and welcome to Norwood Digest, NPA TV's news magazine show. We've got a great show ahead of us, so we're going to get right to it. We're going to first be joined by Norwood High School grad of 2008, Alex Orphanos. Welcome to Norwood Digest.
Thank you for having me, Jack.
So you have the privilege, honor, whatever, of being the first podcast that NPA TV has ever...
I'm amazed. This is awesome.
So before we get to that, let's talk about you. You went to Norwood High.
I did.
Jazz musician.
That's right.
Which,
Trumpeter.
Trumpet. I played trumpet, but not as well as you did. I can promise you that. And then you went to WPI, was the Polytech,
Yep, that's right.
and majored in.
Aerospace engineering.
Okay, that explains why we're doing the other thing.
Yep.
But did you minor in jazz? There was a
I
a
did.
music component.
I minored in jazz performance, which was it was kind of a thing for me. I lost track of music when I went out of college. I actually ruptured my lower lip playing trumpet in high school, and then just couldn't get back into it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but I got to finish. I got to perform Louis Armstrong, 3 different songs, which was fantastic, and got back into it. It was great.
Well, maybe we should switch you over to baritone. You don't
That's a
need
great
stronger
idea.
lip,
Yeah,
you know?
I like that.
Right, because that's what I did. So, aerospace engineering.
Yes.
So, what is it about aerospace engineering that caught your fancy?
So I didn't even know that kind of a thing existed as a job. I actually it was a college board, it was an online survey. It was like, we'll find out what your personality is.
Yeah, Greg Stratton, they used to call it.
Yes. And the 2 things that came up was aerospace engineer working on actual planes, commercial flight, and then spacecraft like the shuttle, which was one of my favorites. So I was like, that's a job? Yeah, let me go into that, and that's how I got into it.
Okay. So, do you do any of that for work now?
So I did do it for a little while. Just had a hard time finding a position somewhere that I could do. You need experience. Oh, I don't have experience, but I can't get the job, that kind of thing. So I decided I'm going to do it for myself. So the podcast I started 3 years ago. That was kind of just my way of getting into it and staying relevant and having some kind of experience. And then it's morphed into this new thing that I'm just loving doing.
Yeah. Okay. And just one more thing before we get fully into the podcast. You have a printing business.
That's
but
right.
It's 3D printing.
3D printing.
And
That's right.
It's got to be 10 years ago the first time I ever saw a 3D printer, and I was just amazed at it. What kind of things do you do?
So right now, more or less anything. If we have a 3D model of it, even if it's really complicated, we can make it. It's just how strong is it going to be?
Right.
What's it made out of? I can really do plastics at the moment, but people can do metal. They can do a whole bunch of different things. I'm working with entrepreneurs, mostly small businesses, who are trying to get something in their business that makes productivity better, or maybe it's a product they want to test out. They don't want to spend hundreds of thousands. You can spend a good amount and be on budget.
So I'm just recalling what I saw for the first demonstration, and it's right up your alley, because it was an adjustable wrench that they made so they could send the drawings, if you will, up to the space station.
Yes.
So they could have a 3D printer print the tools so they wouldn't have to carry all those tools.
You got it, yeah. And they're doing that on the International Space Station right now. And they're actually bringing those things back so they can test them back on Earth to see does it make it better in space? Does it make it worse? But that's what they're figuring out.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the podcast.
Cool.
What made you start it?
I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. I was looking for an outlet. I was trying to get back into performing. I did the jazz performance minor, and I just was with another Norwood friend, and we would just hang out and wonder, what do we want to do? How do we want to perform? Are we going to do a band? Are we going to do this? And I was driving 3 hours a day to Connecticut for work, and music got boring, and I got into podcasting. And one of the guys I listened to, Joe Rogan, he always said, if you think you can do this, get into it. Start a podcast. It's a good thing, and it's been amazing. It really has been.
So this is not Wayne's World.
No.
This is outer space world.
Yes.
So, give me an example of what you would have on one of your shows.
Sure. So one of the ones I just recorded the other day, what I'm getting into is interviewing people in the industry who are actually doing stuff. So I interviewed a guy the other day, a space shuttle engineer. He'd worked on the program for 35 years, and diving into what is that like? What does he know about the space shuttle? But I get into everything from the sci-fi to the actual science that's going on today. If there's any new research that comes out, I'll definitely touch on that. And I'm always willing to hear what people are looking to get interested in. For me, it's just whatever I think is interesting, I share it, and if I get any feedback, I would love to do whatever people are looking for.
So what would be of interest? Meaning, is it educational? Is it fun? It's both.
It's both. It's both. I think it has to be both. When it's scientific and it's really complicated, you don't want to dumb it down because that's insulting to the people listening to it. But you also want to make it accessible to everybody. So adding a little humor in there, having some fun, I think that's a good way to get science to come across, especially when it's rocket science. You know?
And so how do you start it? Do you just like put stuff on YouTube? I have no. This
Sure.
is
So the podcast?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, the podcast. I did a bunch of research, found out how I could put it online. Put it on iTunes first, just audio, because I really loved radio and I loved the old talk shows. So that was where I went with it first, and then it just made more sense when I decided, we're going to do education. I really want to teach people things. It moved towards the video aspect, and then I got it on YouTube and got it on MPA, and yeah.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Can you tell how many people watch when you do something like that?
Kind of. The stats aren't really that great at the moment. Yeah.
Today.
You can tell. Sure, you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got hundreds of people checking in every episode, which is amazing to me that even that many people would.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
And so how will I find it?
Sure. So if you go to iTunes, you just search Today in Space. If you go to todayinspace.net, that's my website. You can check out all the links for YouTube, for here, for iTunes, and it's all there.
Okay. What's the next thing? You just taped one. What's next?
The next thing is talking with people in the industry, people who are passionate about space, because I want that to come across. I want those people to share their stories so that people can connect with them.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And check it out. Today in Space with Alex Orphanos, who I think I went to high school with his uncle. So